Hello, everyone. It's that time of year. Time to talk sports, especially because we have so much going on. So, just let me tell you where you are. This is the collective on WSME Enlightenment Radio, Enlightenment Media, and this is the collective. I'm the host, Michelle Turner, and the collective is a poshmosh, I'd like to say, of different things: art, music, dance, sports, personalities. But got my man Ant-Man on with me today, and we are going to talk about a little bit of everything.
Oh
So
yeah, I'm ready.
thank you, sir. Yeah, I know you're ready because
You welcome.
you jumped out at me and said, "Hey, there's a lot going on. We need to talk." I'm
Yeah,
like, you know
yeah,
what?
of course.
You're right. You're right.
I'm an honorary host, member,
You're
honorary.
not you're not just a player. You're a member, right?
Yeah, I'm a member. I mean, hey, I'm part of the
Well,
team.
thank you. Thank you for being here today.
You welcome.
Appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about the draft and the fact that out of the 200 plus schools where players were chosen, there was no one chosen from the HBCUs. I think there was somebody out of A&T, McNeil, and there was somebody out of Fayetteville State, but that was sort of way down the line
Right.
and after. And Deion Sanders called the NFL out on it because he's now the coach of Jackson State.
Right.
So he's saying, they're watching kids from around the different leagues. He's SWAC, which is one of the best conferences in the HBCUs.
Yep.
And he's saying, look, I'm seeing these kids, they can play, they can go to the next level, but nobody is looking at them. So now they want to do something called an HBCU combine, for lack of a better term. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they should just do a combine completely, like together. There should be no separate HBCU dealing with the Division One. When you're looking at Carolina, you're looking at East Carolina, all these other
Right.
schools. You shouldn't be looking at these schools separately than looking at Jackson State, A&T, Winston-Salem State, Fayetteville State. You should break. I mean, they all athletes. They all play in the NCAA,
Right.
and they all
And
part of that same.
eventually would be playing in the NFL.
Yeah, and the talent is there. So you have a lot of talent. You just need to start. They need to start going out supporting these HBCUs, but not supporting them as a separate entity. Support them together with the other subdivision universities or the other Division One universities or
Yeah,
Division Two universities.
because it. I understand why they're doing it, right? So
Right,
that everybody gets a fair shot. But at the same time, does it really level the playing field?
right. So when you're looking at it from that standpoint, you also got to look at, all right, you dealing with uh, players. I mean, student athletes from different divisions when it comes to college. Okay, subdivision, Division One. But when you get more players coming from North Dakota State,
Right.
more bigger, North Dakota State is so small. So you still get more players from North Dakota State coming out and getting drafted in as top 10 picks in the
Right.
last 5 years. Then A&T just won all these different conference
Yeah,
divisions,
the bowls,
championships.
the
They don't
different
won the
bowl
bowl
games.
games. They got, I mean, they had some of the top running backs come out in the last 5 years. Some of the best DBs come out in the last 5 years. You're not bringing these guys to the NFL, or if you do, you're bringing them on like unsigned rookies or unsigned
Right.
draft picks. Can't do that. You got to
Right.
give these guys opportunities, same way you give North Dakota State, South Dakota
Right.
State, Montana University in football. You got to give everybody the same opportunity. That's point
Yeah,
blank.
because I mean, of course, when we talk legends in football, we talk in CIAA, you
Right.
know. You talking Morgan State, you talking Winston-Salem
Grambling,
State,
you talking
you
Grambling.
talking Grambling,
Oh
you
man, man,
talking Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State. I
right,
mean, these are schools where it is known that the players that come out of there are top tier. And
right,
you mean to tell me you couldn't even get somebody from Grambling?
right.
It just blows my mind that, especially after the year that we've had with George Floyd, and we're starting to look at, or have been, I don't know how long it's going to continue, but we're looking at what race has done in society, to American society specifically. And you're still not looking at HBCUs as the powerhouses in football that they are.
Right.
It just makes no sense.
But I'm happy that a lot of these guys that was committing to these bigger universities are now committing to the smaller
To the
and
smaller schools,
yeah, the
yeah.
HBCUs, the smaller universities, because you got to level out the playing field. And the thing about it is, until they do that, just if I'm an African American, I'm gonna look at a HBCU.
Yeah,
Now, especially in this age, I'm
yeah.
gonna look at HBCU. I'm not just gonna look at the University of Alabama, the Auburn State, Auburn University, any of these universities, without looking at A&T, without looking at Morehouse, without looking at
Right,
some of these other universities, Jackson State. I'm looking at some of these universities because the coaches there, most of the coaches at these black historical universities are Hall of Famers, or coaches
right,
that been in the NFL before, or been in the NBA before. I'm gonna go there first before I go to one of these. Comparing to Alabama because they put them on the stage, but
right,
some of these schools like South Dakota State or Montana or even schools in Wake Forest, these
right,
schools like that. I'll probably look at Winston State quicker than I look at Wake Forest for football.
right,
You know, maybe the opposite, even in basketball, because they've been winning the CIAA for the last couple of years. So
right.
Winston State, I mean, we just have to start combining these together with the combine. Start inviting some of these guys from the HBCUs to come out and do these combines and
And do these
get
combines.
drafted and come get drafted. And don't just divide it up and say, "Oh, we're gonna send a scouting team out here to all the HBCUs in the NFL." No, just combine everybody together like you normally would, because
Right,
you're inviting African American students from Alabama, invite African American students from Jackson State to the
right.
combine. That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. But now, there's always the issue of money. And even though now we're beginning to see young men and women who are Division 1 athletes go to HBCUs, it
Right,
still boils down to who's going to give me the most money.
right,
And it just seems like it's only been maybe the past 3 years that HBCUs have been sort of able to match what a Carolina would give or Wake Forest would give. But they're still moving in that direction. They're not there yet. So that could be an issue as well as to why they're still not looking at HBCUs, because when they, look at these athletes in high school, they're offering them full rides, partial rides, you know, things that make the difference as far as tuition and room and board.
yeah, but we in this day and time, their HBCUs should be making as much money as,
Yeah,
because it's too many alumni that's a lot. I mean, African American alumni that went to these historical universities like Oprah, uh,
right.
Tyler Perry, some that the other billionaire guy that gave all that money out to
Yeah,
Morehouse.
the guy that gave Morehouse the money.
Yeah, he paid all the Morehouse. If you was a
Yeah,
senior in that class, you got all your debt paid for. Them
yeah,
when you got guys like that, historical alumni, you shouldn't have to worry about, okay, can we offer a $30,000 full ride scholarship for this student athlete, 40,000, because tuition is still reasonable in some of the public HBCUs.
Yeah.
Now, some of your private ones are a little different. Like when you start
Right.
looking at Johnson
Hampton.
C. Smith,
Yeah.
Johnson Smith like $50,000 a year, 40-some thousand dollars a year,
Yeah.
and the campus is very small, but it's tight knit. If you're looking for that tight knit university, but there should be no alumni. I mean, when you got alumni in some of these historical universities, HBCUs, no one should be second guessing. Okay, why? What? This student athlete or this student.
Right.
If this student want the grades, they
Right.
got. If I'm making all A's, if my son make all A's, I'm expecting all these universities, the HBCUs universities, and some of the big, some of your bigger universities that are still out there, the Alabamas, the Auburn, to
Right.
offer the same amount of money that they would be offering, from the separate universities. So that's what we have to look at now from an overall point, because HBCUs they should be getting the same amount of money that these other universities, I call them the other universities.
or as the young people like to tell me, PWIs, predominantly white institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope. It's one thing that they start out this way, but let's hope that eventually over the next few years, I'm not even going to say 10, I'm going to say 3, that they resolve this issue and that there won't be a need for an HBCU combine.
Right. Yeah. I
Let's
hope they
hope.
do. Yeah. They don't need the separate.
Speaking of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, June 1st, from what I understand, is kind of when everything is closed up. Granted, everybody can still make deals, but usually by June 1st, as far as drafts, trades, signing free agents, usually the work is done.
Right.
Because now we're thinking in terms of practice, starting to look at the season, bringing folks together for meetings. You might get June off, but people will start to work out honestly in July so that they'll be ready for camp in August.
Right.
So this is the time where we kind of seal the deal for a couple of people.
Right.
But in looking at USA Today's sports page, they came up with 8 sensible NFL trades. Which team would be Julio Jones's best landing spot? And this is written by Nate Davis at USA Today. But I chose 3 situations because of time, because I want us to talk about the NBA as well. So the first situation he talks about is wide receiver Julio Jones for Indianapolis Colts, Marlon Mack, and a draft compensation pick. And he says Jones might be the greatest player in Falcons history and is still highly productive when he's healthy.
Right.
And moving him with quarterback Matt Ryan is a good combination. So they may want to keep him. But the issue is if they trade him, it allows the team to split his $23.25 million cap hit over 2 seasons.
Right.
While adding $15.3 million base salary back into their coffers this year. The presence of Jones, wide receiver Calvin Ridley, and first round tight end Kyle Pitts means Ryan would have lots of mouths to feed. And maybe above all else, Jones expressed to Undisputed on Monday that he was out of there when he was asked about his future in Atlanta.
Right.
So do you think that's something that works? Especially because they're going to get more, now they have more money.
Yeah, they don't have enough money to sign the draft picks. So that's the thing with
Really?
Atlanta. They have to get rid of the head. You got to cut the head of the snake off quick.
Yeah, somewhere, right?
Yeah, when you say it that way, you got to cut the head of the snake off when it comes to clearing up money for the cap. Because if you can't sign your rookies, you got a cap hit.
Yeah.
And unlike the NBA, you got salary cap. So
Right.
you can't go, oh well, I'm gonna just go over the cap and pay a luxury fee. No, it don't work that way. It don't work that way in the NFL. NFL, you got to get rid of players. You got to cut people. You got to make salary to sign people. So you got to bring money back in to get rid of. You got to basically get rid of people to have
to
money.
make money.
Yeah.
Or to bring money back.
To bring money back.
But somebody like this gentleman, Mr. Jones, is not going to be, they're not going to push him out the league. Somebody's going to pick him up with those stats.
Yeah. You got teams that got New England. They got enough cap space. The Colts, they got enough cap space. I can name probably 5 Detroit Lions, but he probably want to go to a team that he can win a championship or possibly win a championship.
Yeah.
Or possibly make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, really looking at Atlanta since he been there, how many said they made it to the Super Bowl? They did make it to the Super Bowl, and they choked. They could have won the Super Bowl. They choked. But they did make the Super Bowl. So he could say, well, he did make it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In his career with them.
Yeah.
And I just see him more of a going to like a New England or going to a maybe the Raiders. I think the Raiders got a little money cap space. Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas.
Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders.
Can't call them even Cleveland. They might be able to switch off Odell Beckham, but Atlanta really don't want to trade in another high salary.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when you start to talk about what we're going to do for the future as opposed to what's going on right now.
Right.
Got to make those moves. Got to make that difference.
Right. You got to make it. Yep. You got to sign.
Got to make that difference.
You got to sign Pitts. I mean, that's their future. I mean, he's there for at least 4 years, so you still got to sign him to the $8-10 million a year. I mean, I think probably like $20 million for the next 3-4 years. They don't have enough money for that.
Well, at least Jones can say he's got Super Bowl experience under his belt, And if you go with the winner, you want people who've already been that route,
right?
Because they know how to handle that pressure. They know what certain things look like. They can talk to the rookies about, what it feels like to be there and how you handle things,
right?
When
the player's making almost $30 million a year, especially as a wide receiver, you can bring in a couple more pieces to take the place of that,
right?
That money, that cap. But at the same time, a Julio Jones is going to be hard to replace.
Because his numbers are dynamic, and I mean he's really done some work.
Yeah, he's probably the best. Besides Deion Sanders and Andre Rison, he's probably one of the best Atlanta Falcons that I know.
Yeah. Career record of 95.5 receiving yards per game.
Per game, yep.
Per game. You can't, you just can't buy that anywhere else. And I don't think I don't know. There might be somebody they can bring in for Matt Ryan, but as it stands, their combination was one of the better ones in the NFL.
Matt Ryan got maybe one more year. He might get out of one more year this year if they don't look at him and evaluate him by mid-season this year. 1 year. But he got 1 year to make the player, because just another case, he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
But it's rare that they trade a quarterback at this stage. I mean, he's a former MVP. And he made it to the Super Bowl. So he's one of the players that, okay, if we trade for him now, what are we really getting back as a quarterback?
Right.
Knows the system.
Right.
So they looking at like maybe 1 or 2 more seasons. They might draft their quarterback next year. They might come in and trade for a quarterback next year. But he might got 1 more season. I'm just saying 1 more season.
And that's it. Jones hasn't played a whole lot since 2013. Yeah. This season, He's 32 years old. He
Yeah,
didn't play very much this past season. Matter of fact, this season was the one he's played the least games since 2013. So, at this point, he just might be ready to go somewhere. And having
yeah,
that knowledge that, Matt Ryan may only have a year left, it's like, what's the point in me staying?
yeah. Go to a Super Bowl contender, 32 years old. You still gonna make $10 million a year.
Right. And still
Well,
healthy.
you still healthy. Well, you definitely healthy this year coming off of injuries. But that's the thing
Right.
about Julio Jones. The only reason I think he was putting himself in them type of situations were the routes that the way he run and the way he put himself in situations. He's big, so the
Hmm.
corners are more aggressive with him.
Right.
When you're a big receiver, you gonna always have them little knick-knack injuries, hamstring, toe injury,
Right.
hip injury, arm injury, because you are battling with the corners. These corners are 5'11", maybe 5'11", maybe 5'8", maybe 5'9".
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going against a 6'5" receiver, a 6'4" receiver. Hey, that's
Yeah,
different.
it's
Different
it's
animal.
yeah, it's a different type thing now
Yeah,
because, everybody's fast now.
yeah,
Everybody's fast. It
yep,
doesn't matter. You used to get the little guys because they were fast. But
yep.
now when you watch those combines, you see that guy that's 6'5", 225, 230, and he can run 4.5,
Mm-hmm. Four
in
three,
less
four
than a
two.
minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody's fast.
Pitts 4'3", tight end
Right in.
for Atlanta, the one they just drafted. Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's what they really get rid of Julio Jones for. They bringing it. They just brought in a monster. They just brought in another beast that's
Yeah.
can play wide receiver, can play tight end, can block, can run a 4.3 40, ran a 4.3 40, can block and can catch anything you throw at him. I mean, get
And
rid
you
of
can get,
23 million. You got him for 4 years. You got him for
I was
four
going to
years.
say, you get him for less money
Yeah, less money. 20 years. You get him for 4 years for 20 million. Julio Jones, you got to pay him 28 million per year.
per year.
So
Yep.
there you go.
There's a big difference.
And he's 32. And the guy for the Florida, the guy Pitts that come from Florida, he's only 22.
I was going to say he's 21, 22 years
Yeah.
old, right?
So there you go.
10-year difference. Yeah.
10
So
years.
we'll keep him for like 5 years.
Yeah, we got him for 5 years, basically $20 million, 5 years. And they can pick up his option and put him in, and they can keep they can tag him twice.
Right.
They could put a tag on him twice. So you really got him for 7 years before you have to sign him to a major deal.
Right. And by then he may be looking to go if Atlanta doesn't win anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, they
You
might be
know.
ready to get rid of him then anyway.
So,
That's the best thing. That's the issue I got with the NFL compared to the NBA. First of all, you got me under contract for 7 years. You got an opportunity to keep me under contract for 7 years under a rookie contract. Well, not really a rookie contract. So, say, example, if my position, you got me playing like a tight end and a wide receiver, and you pay
mhm.
me like a tight end because you drafted me as a tight end. You paid me for $40 million for 5 years or whatever, $60 million. Receivers get 100 and some million per year. I mean, 5-year contract now.
5-year contract, right?
Yeah. So if you pay me as a tight end, but you use me as a wide receiver, that's a no-no. Secondly, if I'm on a rookie deal for 5 years and you pick up my option, and then you can put me under you can keep putting me under the cap space. You can keep signing me, you can keep me on the roster
You
for
got
another
into the cap, yeah, for
yeah,
another at least 3-4 years,
yeah.
right?
So you keep me like 2 more years on the cap and sign me as basically pay me under the table. Nothing. So
Right.
NBA, they get 4 years and then they sign these guys to $100 million, $80 million. They look for $80, $90 million. If you mediocre in the NBA, you can still make $80 million.
You can ride the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ride the bench and make a pretty buck and then get out.
Yep.
You know?
NFL,
It's different.
mediocre, you might make 5 million, you might make 10 million. Cool. But superstar, before you get to your prime, you are already 28, 29 years old. You
Yeah.
sign your first contract. I mean, you sign your second contract, which is outside your rookie contract. Come on.
Yeah. All right, we got a break here. We're gonna come back. We're gonna finish this conversation and move into the NBA.
All
All
right.
right, because we're in playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
My mom said, "You still watching the NBA?"
Mhm.
Which cracks me up, and I'll tell you that story when we come back. This is a collective right here on WSME Enlightenment Radio.
All right.
I'm back with Ant-Man, and we are talking sports on the collective,
Oh yeah.
WSME Enlightenment Radio. Thanks so much, Anthony, for being with us
You're
today.
welcome. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
your time, and this is always our favorite thing.
Yeah. I love it.
So let me tell the story real quick about my mom. I always tell the story, so somebody who is a regular listener probably knows. But my mom is a winning coach. Um, She was the first woman inducted into Mississippi Valley State's Hall of Fame for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the Connecticut Women's Sports Hall of Fame. I grew up with basketball. Everything from going to practices with her when I was little, when she coached when I was little, to always having basketball on in the house. When LeBron James came into the league, she said, "This is it for me." She said, "Because I don't understand this type of play. I don't understand why big men are handling the ball going down court. I don't understand why there are no rebounds
Right.
at the basket." So she stopped watching. So about 3 nights ago, we were talking, and she said, "Well, what are you watching?" Because she's watching MSNBC. We kind of done the reverse. I'm watching sports. She's watching politics when it used to be the other way
Oh.
around. And
Oh.
she says to me, "What are you watching?" I said, "I'm watching the Knicks." She said, "The Knicks got a real team?"
Oh wow.
She said, "You still watching the NBA?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm still watching the NBA." She said, "Well, I guess you're one of those people that they talk about that's going back and watching the games." She said, "I'm done. I'm not." She said, because she said, "Maybe I'm just old school. Maybe, I'm looking at it from that standard point of there's a traditional way to play ball."
Right. Right.
And so it's
It's rough.
interesting.
It's
Well,
very
it's
rough.
a different game. It's
Different.
a
Very
different
different.
game. It's not the game that you and I
No.
grew up with watching. you
No.
know it's not even the game of Magic or Kobe or Michael Jordan.
No.
It
And I
has
was in all them eras.
changed.
I came in the back end of Magic, in the front end of Jordan, and
Mm,
on the back end of Kobe. So I seen all different levels, and LeBron. So um, and only reason that I put LeBron up there in that top five because LeBron is a freak of nature. LeBron
yeah,
is something different, and he came in during the time where the NBA was still watchable.
yeah,
He
right,
did come in, so he was a superstar back when he first came in. He made an impact to a team that was horrible.
yeah,
Cleveland Cavaliers
yeah.
was horrible at that time. He
It,
came
it,
in, made an impact, and got him to the playoffs the second year, not the first year, the second year.
Not the first year, but the second year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and same thing with Carmelo Anthony. Came in, got the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets was horrible since they was good
yep.
when the Kim Matoma was there, but when he got there,
But yeah, once he left,
horrible. So
and it's the same thing. I mean, you watch these games, and when I talk to folks who are younger, you know, all they really know is LeBron. They
right,
might buy Jordan, but there are very few of them that might go on YouTube or elsewhere to really sit through a full Chicago Bulls game
right,
or to watch, a playoff game, a series. There's very few of them that do that. I mean, I was talking to a young man and he said, "Yo, that Derrick Rose." And I'm like, "You don't know about Derrick Rose?"
yeah, Derrick Rose was a beast when he first got to the NBA. He was a beast.
He was
Injuries,
something special.
I'm telling you now, injuries, if injuries didn't slow him down, he will be superstar level. Probably
Yep.
one of the best. He probably would have been one of the best guards you ever seen come through the NBA.
Yep.
Off guards,
Absolutely.
point guards, shooting guard. He would have been Iverson 2.0.
Yep. Absolutely. There's no question about it. And it's
Freak of
good
nature.
to see him play now, with the
Yeah.
Knicks.
Yep.
It's good. I
Get his
mean,
money. Get his
yeah,
money.
and he's really playing.
Yeah.
It's not like he's feeble or his game is slowed down or any of that.
Right.
He really looks good. He
Yeah.
really looks good.
He's playing really. He's playing organized basketball. He's not because the only thing that took me away from Derrick Rose when he first got into the NBA was he was wild.
Mm-hmm.
He played wild. He played too aggressive.
Well, almost like Iverson.
Yeah, the game don't slow down for them. Like even Iverson, the game start slowing down for him once he got into the middle,
Right.
middle of his career and to the end of his career. It slowed down because now he had developed that jump shot. He stopped driving so much. He got that pop up, that little mid range. He started because at the beginning, Iverson was coming in. He didn't care if Shaq was in the middle, Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo, Jordan. He
He
didn't
didn't
care
care.
who's there. He was
He didn't
going to go
care.
in the middle
He
and
didn't
make a
care.
statement. Same
Right.
thing with Derrick Rose. He going into the middle to make a statement. That's the thing that killed him, messed up his knees, and he was always jumping too hard. Like he would
Yeah.
jump up, dump, and come down heavy on his legs. Not good.
Yeah. And with the technology now and the money invested and all of that, you know, he's a good player,
Right.
but we know he could have been a great player.
Yes.
We
I
know
mean,
he
he's
could
still
have
an
been a
NBA
great
player.
player.
Like I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
he don't have a Hall of Fame career, but he has a good career. He had a good career.
Yeah. And I
And he's
think,
a former MVP.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he'll probably get that one more time before he leaves.
Or MVP?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he'll get another MVP because
I don't know.
I think the Knicks, I'm not going to say they're going to win a championship, but there's going to be some good games coming up. I think they got some good seasons ahead of them if they stay with the combination that they have.
Right.
I think and I think that Derrick Rose is probably going to be one of those people that's going to be a heavy contributor to that.
Right.
I really do. So
But
I'm
the reason I wouldn't say he'll get an MVP again because he comes off the bench. He's pretty much a six man. He should have
yeah,
got six man of the year this year.
right,
He should have
right.
got six man of the year because the Knicks, but they gave Randall. They gave him most improved player. He should have been in MVP conversation because you got to remember their record was horrible. When I'm telling you, Knicks
Listen,
for the last 20 years. I'm gonna say 20 years. It's been about 20 years since the Knicks had a good team.
yes, and when they got mad and got jealous of Jeremy Lin, that was to their detriment. You know,
That's what I'm saying.
Jeremy
20 years.
Lin was lighting it up, and he was playing ball. He was playing. And Carmelo and other people didn't like his style, so
Mm-hmm.
they got rid of him. And that was crazy to me because that was really truly the beginning of the end
Yep. 20
for
years.
them that season. So now you got these young guys, you got a decent coach,
Mm-hmm.
and you got folks who are some vets, but they know the game and they're playing basketball. They're not wild. They're not, trying to shoot 3-pointers all night. They're playing fundamental basketball and winning.
Right.
So, but let's talk about NFL before we go back to playoffs.
Okay.
Now, this gentleman from USA Today is also looking at the Patriots trading their cornerback, Stephon Gilmore, to the Seahawks.
Oh, nice. You woke
He
me up.
says,
You woke me
yeah, I
up.
know. I knew you'd like that.
Yeah, you woke me up on that one.
Yeah, since Seattle is your team.
Yeah, okay. Now we
But,
talking.
well, he's had some injuries.
Yeah.
Gilmore has had some injuries as well as a bout with COVID. So that kind of slowed him down.
Uh-oh. I might
Um,
rethink this. Let me sit back now. I might rethink about this now. Wow.
yeah.
Because
And,
I'm telling you now, that
well,
COVID.
here's the thing, they've got two players, two corners, Jonathan Jones and JC Jackson, who he says needs an extension with the Patriots.
Right.
This might be the time to move Mr. Gilmore and the 7 million plus he's owed in 2021, given he's also in a walk year and will be 31
Right.
come September.
Right.
So how do you see that? Do you think that's somebody Seattle might be interested in, or?
Yeah, I mean, I like Gilmore. I love Gilmore a game. I love his game. And I can see him doing a lot because our corner's horrible. Our corners last year, yeah. But the way we
Who?
played, the only thing that the reason that I think we play safety high and we play zone.
Okay.
That's so we take the pressure off the corners. We allow the receivers to get 5 yards, 10 yards, receptions. We allow that. We allow you to get all the way up to the 20, 10-yard line. Then we compact.
Yeah.
We don't want you in the end zone. Give you a field goal. We let you get penalties, whatever. That's the way Seattle played. We always play zone. Ever since, I mean, especially ever since Pete Carroll been there. We've been playing zone and we play soft zone. We don't play a hard zone. We play a soft zone, but we play
So you
safety
think
high.
Gilmore would be a good fit?
Yeah. Gilmore, because now we can go back to man on certain plays.
Okay.
And he could take away certain players or certain receivers that we might have to have a safety high come over, or a Diggs. Diggs might have to come over and help out. So, we just have to start looking at it from the standpoint of we got to give, like Adams. Adams took too much heat last year as a safety. Diggs took too much. That's why they stayed injured. That's why they got injured, because they were playing safety high, too high. We played too much safety high. Our corner was horrible. So
yeah, so this will be a different year for you.
yeah, so we
For the
look at it from the
Seahawks, I should
standpoint.
say.
Yeah, we look at it from the standpoint. You bring in a Gilmore, and you got Diggs and Adams in the back of the safeties. Now you take pressure off them. You shut down possibly half the field because he don't travel. I mean, Gilmore don't travel, so we shut down half the field and let the safeties work, and let some of our defensive tackles and some of the ends work. I mean, that's the defense. That's how we work. Linebackers, that's how we let them do what they got to do.
Last but not least, out of the 8, this one's an interest for me. Philadelphia Eagles tight end Zach Ertz to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What? No Tebow?
Nah, they're saying that it's his homecoming. But if the Jags really want to give Trevor Lawrence a legitimate tight end, a receiving threat to help him through his rookie season, why not take Ertz off Philly's hands?
Right. And they want to get rid of him.
And they want to get rid of him. He's a Pro Bowler 3 times. He's heading into the final year of his contract.
Oh, yeah. This is the best
And
time.
as we know, he's been at odds with management for quite some time. And the Eagles, let's face it, they don't know how to spend their money either.
Right.
They're strapped. Their cap is at 8.5 million. And so, when you're talking about letting somebody go, like we said earlier, it frees up money for you to bring in folks.
Right.
So why not let him go? What sense, what does it make to have someone who doesn't want to be there? and kind of benefits you in the long run.
Right. But like you said, Zach Ertz, that's my brother's team also. My brother,
The
shout out to my
Eagles,
brother Ty. He's actually in Connecticut too. Ty, shout out to you,
hey,
brother. But he's also an Eagles fan, and he always talked about, Zach Ertz, got to get rid of him, because basically you gotta start get rid of some of this old talent, bringing some of this new talent,
yeah, yeah,
bringing in some pieces to help. Um, what's his name, Jalen Hurts, help him out a little bit more, because and the thing about Philly is you still trying to figure out who's your starting quarterback. Like,
yeah. That's still an issue.
because they
That's
still
still
looking
an
at Jalen
issue.
Hurts, and then they trying to bring in these other like they bringing in quarterbacks. They're like, come on, man, give the man the starting position.
Right.
Give Jalen Hurts the starting position. Let him come into training camp understanding. Okay, I'm the starting quarterback.
This
I'm
right.
good.
This is where I am, and this is my
Yeah,
team.
this is my team. So now you looking at, it's still open competition. We don't know yet. No, just give the man the opportunity to run the team. He did pretty good coming in at the end of the season. He did pretty
Yeah.
good. Carson
Yeah.
Wentz out of there. Get him up out of there. Y'all got him up out of there into Indianapolis. Cool. Now you got to give this rookie that you drafted in the first round, 2 years ago,
Right.
give him an opportunity to come in and say, hey, early, I think it was early, late first round, early second round, they drafted him, but give
I
him an
think it's
opportunity.
first.
You put a lot of money up. So give him an
Yeah,
opportunity.
and look, I don't understand why teams hold on to people who don't want to be there in the first place.
Right.
I mean, surely if you've got enough attorneys, agents to sit at the table, you should be able to work something out and let folks go.
But
I
it's
mean,
more it's more
I
of
know
a
it's more to it than that.
yeah, it's like more of a respect factor. And it's player like owners don't want players to have edge. And players don't want the owners to have too much
Have
edge.
edge.
So they fighting each other. So one year you be like in the NBA it's a players league now in the NBA.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they can go like babies and cry and mope and oh God, I want to get up out of. They traded by the week, the week
yeah.
after
They're gone.
they
They're
go.
gone.
Like
Yeah,
Steph Curry coming up. I don't know. Golden State just threw some more money at him with an extension, but LeBron is also recruiting them for the
yeah,
Lakers.
yeah,
So we'll talk about that one day too. But that's something that probably come up in one of the next sporting
yeah,
conversations. But um, yeah, these players, it's a player ownership. When owners and players get together, they like kids. I'm gonna be the big kid. I'm gonna be the big brother today. You're gonna be the little brother. You're gonna be the little brother today. I'm gonna be the big brother. It works that way. Like the players, especially NBA, NFL. NFL is different. NFL is an owners league,
yeah. That's true.
and
Very
it's an
true.
old boy system. It's an old boy
Yeah, old boy network.
network, just like baseball, Major League
Yeah,
Baseball. You sit
yeah,
there, cry like a baby, get with the media, and they'll let you ride out. Look what they're doing with Texans. Look the Texans doing. With my boy, what's the quarterback out there? What they doing with him?
oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know who you're talking about. We just talked about him last month. Yeah, I just think it's just not smart. And I know, like you said, it's egos and it's a players' league, but to me, nobody benefits when that happens.
Right,
Nobody, And then when you let the person go, you realize how much time you've lost
right,
just because you want to be the big brother today.
right.
And it's to your detriment. So
Mm-hmm.
just a fan. Yep, just a fan.
Especially as a
So
quarterback.
yeah, it's almost as if owners and when you start to talk about the politics of sports,
Politics.
especially when you start to talk about black men being in these major positions as
Right.
players. Then it becomes, master and slave, overseer and slave, et cetera, et cetera. Then it starts to turn into a whole nother conversation. But I just think things will go so much smoother if you sat there and really not let your ego get in the way and be two adults and say, okay, this ain't benefiting me. It's not benefiting you. How can we work this out? Do I work out the rest of the year and then boom, you let me go? Or, it just makes more sense to me. But
Yeah.
that's me. That's me.
See, the major issue is that they do the collective bargain agreement
Yeah.
with the union. So that's the thing.
Yeah. And when the
When you
unions
put
are
unions,
involved, yeah,
when you
you're
put
right.
unions involved with any sports, you lose rights
Yeah.
because you give up certain rights to get certain things back. So
Right.
when you give up a collective, when you do a collective bargaining agreement with the players union in NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, and NHL, every sport has its own union. So
Right.
now when you do that contract, that collective bargaining agreement, which might be 20-year contract, 10 years, whatever sports you might be in, it might be a different year or so. Um, but NFL, 10-year collective bargaining agreement. So that's why rookies went from first round draft pick making 70, $80 million a year. I mean, as a contract to now quarterback might get a first pick of the, if it's a quarterback might get 20 some million, 30 million total for 4 years with an optional fifth year pickup. The option year might be the highest year. Uh, so rookies don't get compensated as much as they used to. So that's what they gave up. So the veterans can get more money on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave up the
Mm-hmm.
rookie contracts because at one point in time, the rookies was getting more money than veterans that been there for 20 years.
Right. Right.
And they didn't like that. So they was like, you know what? We have to change up this collective. And so now you giving up the collective bargaining agreement, making things work differently than what you normally do or see. Now the game's over. Now you gotta walk a straight line, and as a
Mm-hmm.
player, you can't they basically said, well, you have no rights. You have no rights now because we took that away from the collective bargaining agreement. So I can trade you if I want to trade you. If I don't want to trade you,
You
that's
stay
when the
here.
media get involved. That's when they start bringing all the media attention to the team. And like right now, Green Bay and Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers.
And Aaron Rodgers. Yep.
So
That's a prime example.
prime example.
Yeah. I I didn't forget about the unions. I just didn't want to bring them in the conversation.
Yep.
But you're right,
Union.
because that's prime. That's
Yep.
prime.
Yep. That's what getting them.
So last but not least, and by the time the show airs, most of this will have changed.
Right.
But we're in our first round games for the East and Western conferences in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sixers are up. They're playing the Wizards. The Nets versus the Celtics. The Nets are up 2 games.
Right.
The Bucks versus the Heat. The Bucks are up 2 games, which is kind of a surprise.
Was
Surprise that they're there anyway.
right. But they
Yeah,
destroyed them the other night, though. They destroyed the Heat the other night by 40.
by 40 points, right?
Yeah.
The Knicks versus the Hawks. Washington versus Philly. And in the West, you got the Jazz versus the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are up first game. The Suns and the Lakers. Clippers and the Mavericks. And we'll see.
Yep.
So I I know that Milwaukee has been a minute,
Right.
but it seems that their uniqueness, everybody brings something different to the table, right?
Mhm.
And you can say that basically about any NBA team, right?
Right.
But I think the difference with them is that the coach is into this whole pacing piece, you
Right.
know, how they play, when they take shots, um, you know, who's going out as opposed to who's got the hot hand and staying in. So it's a
Mhm.
different way of managing a team during the playoffs. And it's working for them.
Right.
But the Bucks haven't been to the playoffs in, I don't know. It's been ages. And I just think that the Heat, I don't know if the Heat is the team they needed to play, because it just seems like to me that the Heat they're not playoff ready. I just don't think that they're playoff ready.
Well, the Bucks made the playoffs last year. Actually, they made it
Yeah,
last year in that bubble. But guess what? The Heat was the team they wanted. The Heat, because the
right.
Heat was the team that put them out in the bubble. And you know the Bucks had that high expectation of winning the championship last year or getting to the finals last year,
Getting
and
to
they
the
got put out in the
finals.
first round.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
they
by
they was looking
Miami.
at them as the Laker killers,
Right.
possibly beating the Lakers from the East.
Did they have injuries? Can't remember.
Last year in the bubble, it was like a more of a mental state for all them guys.
Yeah, for all of them, because it was really an
Yeah,
adjustment being
yeah.
in the bubble.
It was like seeing who was actually mentally, I
Prepared.
guess a little bit more mental, mental toughness. It was more of a mental game instead of physical game. Because I
Hmm.
mean, you got to remember these guys dealing with a lot of family members with COVID. That
Right.
they mother. Carl Anthony Towns, his mother and father. His mother
Yeah.
passed, and his father liked to pass.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying this is public news. This is
Right.
put out there. I'm not just saying it from the just to be saying it as gossip. But his father almost passed, and I think his mother passed.
His mother did pass.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have players like that losing their parents, and then you have other NBA players that had kids that was out there in the world, and they sitting in the bubble protected, and they worried about their wife and their kids.
Right. Their
So it was a lot of stuff
families.
going on. Their significant others, and same thing with the
Yeah.
WNBA. It was the same situation in WNBA. They worrying about their significant others, their family.
Yep.
All the everything that they had out there outside that bubble, and you have all this social injustice stuff going on, and it was a mental crash for everybody. So for a
Yeah.
team, so that's why I give it up to the Lakers. I don't have any issues with the Lakers winning that bubble championship, because it was a
And I
mental
don't.
thing.
Yeah, and I'm not so sure that people, like LeBron said, they were up against a lot anyway before
Right,
COVID. And
right. Then
so,
Kobe died. Kobe died in the
right,
bubble.
right.
It was in the bubble.
So when you think about what everybody was up against, and really people looking at the Lakers not to even be in the playoffs,
Right,
much less win the whole thing. It put a different spin on things. It put a different spin on things. I really truly believe that you know, they did it for Kobe.
right.
I think they did it for Kobe.
And you got to remember, this championship is gonna always be remembered. This is gonna be one of them championships that you gonna always remember. If you like, you might not remember who won the championship in 1968, who
Right.
won the championship in 1985, who won the
Right.
championship in 95, 96. You might not remember these type of years, but you're gonna remember who won the championship in 2020, Lakers, because of Kobe Bryant passing, the social injustice, George Floyd being killed. Then you had also Black
COVID
Lives Matter movements, the Black
and
Lives Matter
COVID.
movement, the COVID virus that was killing everybody, and making people sick and killing a lot of your family members, and
Yeah.
so you find a deadly war with a virus, and these people sitting in bubbles and can't go outside. You can't leave the hotel. You
And
got to
can't bring
quarantine.
anybody in.
Can't bring anybody in. You know, you know, especially if you one of them type of guys or even females that like to have your significant other
With
next
you.
to you,
Yeah.
or you know, playing around a little bit with, and things over. You know, it's over. Like you disappear. Like, what's going on? You sit in a bubble. Like, man, what is going on?
All right. One other thing. Is the Lakers' size going to make a difference with Phoenix? This is our last question of the night.
Well, they did like a night ago. They definitely did because yeah, they definitely did. So I will see. I would say yes, very very big moment for. Like I said, I really see Lakers should come out. They should come out again against Brooklyn. I think that'd be the biggest finals put
Yeah. I
together.
think that's the I don't see the Clippers moving because they've
No,
got
Clippers gonna get swept. They're
yeah.
just
I
they out of
don't
there.
see them moving.
They might win
Um.
one. They might win one.
Yeah, and the Knicks. I'm not so sure who's going to come out of the East.
Yeah, the East. The East. I'm looking at Brooklyn. I'm looking at Brooklyn
You
coming out.
think the Nets are going to pull it off?
Yeah, they definitely should come out.
All right, because I'm not sure about Boston and where they are with
Or
everything.
76ers. I like the 76ers too. They definitely.
Yeah, they're at the top of the league and
Yeah.
they're quietly doing their thing. So,
Yeah.
Ant-Man,
All
this is
right.
it. Talk to you next month.
Oh
All
yeah.
right.
Right back at
Thank
it
you so
again.
much for being in the studio and talking sports on the collective.
Of course, no doubt.
And we'll see you soon.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching, listening, enjoying. Keep watching the collective on WSME Digital Broadcasting.